For gender identities, they said, Benyon in 2002 argues that contemporary global societies are experiencing a crisis of masculine identity caused by a combination of one, long-term unemployment, the loss of traditional male employment in manufacturing industries, deindustrialization there, lower educational achievement relative to girls, like girls do not really go to school, the rise of female-friendly service industries. So male identities once focused on traditional ideas such as providing for a family, but this is no longer the case for all. Marginalized masculinity cannot demonstrate traditional male qualities because they no longer control the economic resources on which such masculinity was based. So this means they also do those things the female does. So how do you want to call them a male? So this male identity crisis has resulted in the rise of forms of exaggerated masculinity that try to bring back traditional forms of male identity. Retributive masculinities aim to get back traditional masculinity from their emasculated peers. Typical behaviors include heavy drinking, fighting, and these behaviors are based on an idealized version of a traditional masculinity. So, because it's becoming difficult to separate a man from a woman based on what men and women can do these days through globalization and increased choices. So, the men start thinking about how to come back to the old traditional masculinity because it is difficult. They don't want to see it be like, oh, what men can do, women can do better. They don't want that thing to happen. So what they can only do is to refer back to the traditional day, which there's no globalization and increased choices. You know, why we have difficulty in separating gender now is because people start having access. Girls have access to education like boys. They have access to the same information as boys. So they do the same work as boys. Men and women can work in the same company. Women start becoming chairman, president of organizations. So, and this is happening because of globalization and increased choices. So, to go back to the men dominance, that is the point. To go back to the men dominance, it means we have to revert back to the traditional masculinity, which to me is long gone. You get it? So, yet these behaviors are based on an idealized version of a traditional masculinity, which is one firmly patriarchal. That means the society is just about men deciding what happens, who does what. Aggressive, both physical and verbally. This is traditional. Oppositional, in the sense of rejecting complicit masculinity. So, they oppose everything that comes about putting femininity into it. They oppose it.
They don't like it.
They wouldn't allow it. These are an idealized version of the traditional masculinity. We can no longer go back to the traditional masculinity, but we are trying to come up with a new version of it because we want to separate. They want to separate men from women. That is the point there. Then reclamation, which seeks to reclaim masculinity as an identity. When we talk about reclamation, it simply means you want to take back something to become new. That is what reclamation is. So here, they are trying to, they want to reclaim masculinity as an identity. But these days, there's no masculinity anymore. So these things they could do are this. These are the things they could do. So, this type of masculinity reacting against social change can be seen, for example, in violence against women and gender minorities. Feminine identities are also changing as ideas about gender equality are more accepted globally. This enables more women to move away from the conventional feminine role based on the home and family and take on new work-based identities. Some work-based identities, such as that of domestic servant, are still strongly linked to the feminine role. Globalization has led to many women from developing countries migrating to work as domestic servants, nannies, and similar roles, sending remittances as money back to their family. This has led to care deficits as children are raised by grandparents or others, while the mothers care for another family children abroad. There has also been an increase in the number of women working in the global gender trade, often due to trafficking, carrying out a conventional female role of provider of gender services in a newly globalized industry. So, the feminine identity is also changing because those emotional roles carried out by women has started changing because women start, due to globalization, like I told you earlier, with globalization, I'm able to be here. So because I am here, women of my age can be here too. So that means they can as well work here, but maybe through as nannies or whatever they can do, and send money back home. But sending money back home means they have taken a masculine role, because they are supposed to it's according to the patriarchal society, men are supposed to provide for the family. So if the woman leaves home and migrates to other countries and starts putting remittance home, she has taken a father role by providing for the family. So these things happen because there's globalization. And aside that, women start thinking about whichever way they can to ensure that they can stamp their authority even in the family. So that is the last sentence there. I think gender identity is clear. The problem about new gender identity is that because of globalization and increased choices, women have access to whatever men have access to. As a result of that, they can create a new identity for themselves through gender, and they start doing what men can do. So that is what gender identity is about. So it's a woman, it's feminine, but now you can find the combination of there's the masculinity presence in that woman. That is how globalization and increased choices have changed gender identity. Is it clear?